Hi guys, welcome to my favorite day of the week because I get to actually speak to you live. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to lie, I am having trouble keeping up with all of these moving parts that are coming at us so quickly. And today is a little bit different because I was like a little busy this weekend. I mean, typically I work 7 days a week, so I couldn't do that this week. So it's a little different. The slides aren't going to be quite as pretty as you're used to, but they will have thoughts on there. And we have to talk about everything. You know, trade wars are official today. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens with that. And then, okay, so a crypto reserve was announced. It's not put through yet, but we need to talk about those. And I mean World War III. I mean, take your pick. I want to have a lot of conversation about anywhere that you guys need me to go. Let's talk about it. But we're going to start with tariffs because that is a huge thing. And back in the beginning of February, what did President Trump say? Potential pain is going to be pain caused by tariffs, but they're worth the price that must be paid. I don't think that President Trump or Elon Musk or a lot of the people that are in the White House are going to feel that pain as much as you and I will feel that pain. Why? Because they have a whole lot more of this garbage than we do. Okay, now I do have lots of this, and that's what you got to have to deal with what we're about to deal with. So I don't know whether or not, look, this is how I felt. I felt in his first term that he was brought in to help us transition and bring on that crisis that we need to transition into the new system. Okay, that didn't happen then, but this term seems an awful lot more aggressive, an awful lot more chaotic. And so the likelihood of some kind of unintended consequence and black swan event blowing things up, I think is very near. So let's kind of look at, because, food, you can't live without food. And what's the mantra? Food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, arguably the most important one, and shelter. So these are the things that we need to sustain life. We can't live without water specifically, and you can't live without food. So President Donald Trump on Monday alerted America's farmers coming to U.S. tariffs on external product, so the food that we import, telling them to get ready to sell their goods domestically. To the great farmers of the United States, get ready to start making a lot of agricultural product to be sold inside of the United States. Tariffs will go on external product on April 2nd. Have fun. Well, first of all, we are a ways away from April 2nd, so we'll see if that actually does indeed happen. But he seems pretty accurate with what he's saying that he's going to do. So I would not be discounting that. And if you haven't become an urban farmer or created your food security yet, this should be, if all the others weren't a wake-up call, frankly, this should be. But American farmers export a lot of their products too. So that's definitely going to hurt them. It's not the only one though. Okay, U.S. to slap tariffs on crop purchases as food imports balloon. And we're looking at key concerns from the agricultural sector with reciprocal tariffs, which is what's happening. We're in the process. Canada has announced reciprocal tariffs. Of course they have. But loss of export markets. Many farmers feel that countries like Japan, South Korea, Mexico, and the EU will retaliate by targeting U.S. corn, soybeans, pork, dairy, and beef exports. Financial pressure on farmers after years of trade uncertainty and declining commodity prices, because it's not supply and demand that determine the prices. It is those trading markets that I've been showing you. It's just all a big trade. That's what's pricing everything, and could push many farms to the brink of bankruptcy And that's already been happening because of the cost of producing the food, and what they can get for the food is really different. So this puts additional pressure on our food supply, on our local and our global food supply. And you should notice that in the stores. I mean, that really hasn't changed. But just a little bit on 3-4, which is today, another 10% on China. Hike close to twice trade war won. Risks more than 50% drop in China exports to the U.S. Canada and Mexico, that went into play today as well. We have heard from retaliatory tariffs from Canada, not yet from Mexico. That's coming this weekend. And steel and aluminum, that's on the 12th. And on 4/2, it's a 25% tariff on everything imported from the European Union. Risks 70% cut in EU exports to the U.S., and that's going to hit global GDP. And also on 4/2, major exporters, 25%. Cars, chips, pharma.
Having a tech issue.
What? We're having a technical issue? Okay, sorry.
Naturally.
All right, well, it's live, so
The world is
that's...
crumbling, so of course.
Can they hear us?
They can hear us. Yes.
Okay, yeah. We're not partying here, but we're trying to figure it out. Can they not see us?
Yeah, that's what it is. The camera shut off. Do we know
Oh, man.
It's just not shutting on again?
It's only back on. Okay.
Can everybody
Is it overheating?
see?
Is that what's wrong?
Okay.
Is it overheating?
I don't know. It didn't match your name.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Well, that's what happens when it's live. And I was telling him today in the beginning when I first started on YouTube, everything we did was live. Everything. And I said, what would happen if we did that again? Well, I guess this.
Sorry, guys. I think we're back up and running. I'm seeing it here. I'm seeing on the live feed. We're good.
Are
I
you
apologize.
seeing everything?
Yes, we're
Okay.
good. We should be fine.
So at what point was it shut down? How
Probably very beginning of this slide.
Very beginning
That is
of
correct.
the slide?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
Well, we already talked about the key concerns and they could hear us. But we have the point is that there are a whole rash of tariffs that are coming. A lot of the problem, because we've built a global supply chain, which we saw what happened during COVID with the breakdown of it, but we're still not past that, right? We're still inside where we're all intertwined together. So even if it's cars that's coming up, we'll talk about that in a little bit. You know, that can get, in fact, I was talking to Megan this morning, and she and her husband have an auto body shop. And I said, you know, do me a favor and pick a part that you use all the time. And I want to track the prices and how those move. Because she's like, oh, we just buy it we get it wholesale from the car dealerships. Well, the car dealerships will also get it from Canada or Mexico or elsewhere and import that in. It's going to have an impact on, really, frankly, everyone and everything. China targets here. Now, here's some of the retaliation. China targets U.S. agricultural over Trump tariff threat. We are in a full-blown trade war, and I can't tell you when that is going to change. Okay, and you can see it's kind of messy. I didn't have the time to do the work I normally do on these to make them cleaner, but Trump risks American consumer backlash over tariffs because while it won't impact him and his other elites, it's going to impact the everyday public. Rapid inflation is a decline in confidence. And the confidence is, frankly, the last thing that's actually left holding the system together. So I was probably too early. Well, obviously, I was too early on his first term. But I would say this term, we will get a big enough crisis and confidence will go away. And then we're in hyperinflation. And I do believe that we're already at the beginning of this, and this could easily push us over the edge to make things speed up. I'm going to take a look at what's coming next to see. And I hope you can forgive me for this. Oh, here's another one. Okay. Trump squeezed to hit 80% of U.S. oil importers as refineries ramp up. So that's local refineries. But what do they have to buy? Oh, I don't know. They have to buy steel for the pipelines and all of that. President Donald Trump's hawkish position on Venezuela, as well as his planned tariffs on Canadian Mexican oil, are putting at risk about 80% of crude supplies imported to the U.S. We do import a lot of energy from Canada. So, and we seem to be shifting alliances here. So this is the most interesting time that, frankly, I have ever been in these markets. We're together, though, and this is the importance of community. This is the importance of doing what we're doing here, but local community to create that security in your food, water, energy, security itself, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. We've got to do this locally to create that security, but we have to do it globally to get sound money in the flippin' monetary system again. I cannot iterate how important that is, because if we do not do that, and, let's talk about the Bitcoin reserve. Here, give me a second. Let me find those charts. Oh, and here's the agenda, and I think I've already gone over this. Okay, I have. Let's go to the next one. All right, a lot of you people really love the cryptocurrencies, and that's okay. It's a new system that they're introducing and legitimizing. It doesn't have the history that gold and silver does, and it has not yet been tested. But I found it so incredibly interesting that when President Trump announced the reserve, which isn't actually in place yet, the change in XRP, Solana, and Cardano prices, but this is across the board really with cryptocurrencies. Look at how they spiked up. I mean, Cardano, I'm not even sure what that is, was up almost 54%. But look at what it looked like this morning with the tariffs going in place. Right? And he loves Bitcoin. He loves Ethereum. He loves all of that stuff. Bitcoin's at not quite $83,000 an ounce, down from well above over 100,000 in a very short order. This is not a good backing for a currency. This is a speculation because it's used in one place and it has not withstood the test of time. You guys know how I feel about this. It isn't that I think it's going to go away. It isn't even that I think that they're not going to do digital currencies in our monetary system, because I think they will. But what I'm also saying is if we can come together on a global basis and put our wealth in gold and silver, then they're going to have to give us a seat at the table. And if I'm at that table, I'm sorry being redundant, but I got to say it. If I'm at that table, I'm going to want 40% backing convertible, meaning that I can pull. If I don't like what I'm seeing, I can go in to my account and I can pull out the gold from the system. That's what forces fiscal responsibility. That's what gives the public the power back. Can you do it with cryptocurrencies? No, you can't do that with cryptocurrencies. They're intangible. We need a monetary system that is based upon the broadest base of functionality and the broadest base of buyer. This is your bazooka. What's this other stuff? We don't even know yet. We're going to find out. And I know this is short. We're going to take questions now. And Theodora asks, when someone says they leverage against their Bitcoin, what does that mean? And this is long, so I'm just going to take one piece at a time. What that means, leverage is borrowing. It's another way to think about borrowing. But, they name things differently so that we don't really know. And that's what they're saying. They're either borrowing in this case, leverage against their Bitcoin means that they are loaning out that Bitcoin or they are taking on debt using that as collateral. I'm assuming it's to borrow. Yes, you are absolutely right. I'm assuming it's to borrow against, but I'm not understanding that statement fully. So there are places where you can deposit your Bitcoin and then they can loan that Bitcoin out. So it could be either one. Either you borrow against it or somebody is borrowing it. Either way. And if they revalue gold on the books, what will that do to those holding the physical asset? Well, okay, so here comes the conversation around confiscation, because they've been, I hope you've been watching this series on confiscation that I've been doing to show you a whole bunch of different ways that they are confiscating your wealth and getting you to go along and volunteer it. So the gold revaluation will be about getting your confidence back. The most likely scenario, and we've seen it even in recent history, is that they will confiscate the monetary gold, the bullion, the gold that you can hold inside of an IRA, has a completely different classification than the collectible gold. This is why, personally, other than this one piece of bullion in my bracelet, right, I don't own any other bullion, because there's historic precedents for confiscation, and they've been robbing you of your wealth your whole life. I just don't see them stopping at the very end and going, that's okay, you can hold it. But they're holding it in a way that they are more likely to get to keep it, because I can't guarantee you that they won't confiscate this either. It's just a whole lot harder, and there's not enough of it to make it worth their while, because this is about 2% roughly or less of how much of this there is. So when they revalue those assets, and I've shown you this and I can show it to you again, but when they revalue these assets or this stuff against sound money, then whoever's holding it, it jumps. Actually, I just used this in it. Well, okay, here, can we go back here? Okay, so even though this is not, oops. Yes? Okay, so even though this is not gold, I can show you this is what it looks like. Those overnight revaluations, and gold will not be at its fundamental value the first time that they do it. But we will be executing part of the strategy. And you know what I realized yesterday, because we've been doing some strategic planning, and we've been doing it with everybody at the company, because we're all building this company together. And just like the strategy is built on layers, so that no matter where you are in the process, that you are taken care of because of the way the strategy is built. Our company, I realized this yesterday, I thought it was really interesting. Our company is also built on layers. So wherever you are in your understanding of your personal strategy, if you're at the very beginning, or if you've done all of that work, we're also built in layers. It shouldn't be all or none. It should be, what are you trying to accomplish? And then whatever it is that you do supports that. And even if you make some choices that are yours, you get to make them. This is your wealth. You are the one that's going to feel the impact, whether it's positive or negative, on any of the choices that you make. But what happens to gold? Actually, let me see something here for a second. If I have that up properly. Let me see. I shut some of that stuff down. You want to interrupt? Okay. I'm sorry. We're a little disjointed.
We're a little
today,
disjointed
and I'm
today.
a little, and I have a bit of a cold. So
I was just going to say one thing. We've been trying to up the quality in the content that we're producing. We started producing at 4K. You might see that on the stream right now, that you can hit 4K as your stream bit rate. And the camera's overheating. So that's what's going on. Sorry, guys.
Oh.
But, working on it. Figuring it out.
We're figuring it out.
I have Arthur just blowing on it at the moment, so it'll be okay.
Okay. Can I have my screen back up, please? Okay. So this is what it looks like when you ask me what happens to the gold that those are holding. It goes up. okay? Especially if you're holding the kind of gold that you get to keep. And this is why they won't let you keep it, because they know that you're going to do this. And I know there have been some questions, because I got that back from one of the strategy specialists, that someone was asking her if they do the confiscation before the revaluation or after the revaluation. Well, they do the confiscation before the revaluation because they want to transfer your wealth their way. So that's why I personally only do this. You know, I mean, I have a little bit of this because if I talk about it, I have to show you. But I'm not comfortable with bullion. I used to be. It's how I bought took care of the down payment on this house, quite honestly. But once we got to a certain point, then I lost that. So next question. And again, if I don't answer the question to your understanding, please let me know so I can try to do that again.
Just real quickly, Carolyn asks, isn't it kind of crazy, though, to think that they would just stop confiscation at collectibles?
Well, here's why, okay? And I've shown you, I don't have any of those right here, right? But not this one, for sure, not this one. But there are collectible coins that will go for many, many, many millions of dollars, right? So the eminent domain laws are what enables them. And then the next, I've done 3 installments on the confiscation. I still have 1 or 2 more to do. Okay, so you want to pay attention to that because it's one of them's the laws that are on the books. Okay, but all right, this is a piece of bullion. It runs with spot. So let's say that spot happens to be at 4,000. Boy, I used to remember when I'd say 2,000 an ounce. Okay, but 4,000 an ounce, right? Well, they want your cooperation. They don't want your pushback. So why not say, and we'll pay you $6,000 for that coin? And people believing Wall Street, I don't know why, but they do, believing Wall Street and going, well, wow, it's only worth 4,000 and they're willing to pay me 6,000. Okay, rock and roll hoochie coo.
Just lost the camera again. Sorry, just lost the camera again.
What is going on?
It's the resolution of the camera.
Is it because we went to the higher resolution?
Right. Yep.
Do we need a different system?
Not a different system. What it is that the battery system on the camera gets really hot, right? And that's why we got an
So
external.
do we need a different camera?
No, it's we have to tell the camera not to shut off at the high level too. So let me go change that real quickly, guys. I apologize. Let me put you on a.
Okay, let's try and do this. And I'm so sorry, guys, because this is not fun. I don't think I'd be happy with this. I'm not. But at any rate, this is primarily what most people hold, and they can hold it in an IRA. So it's easy to do that sweep. And people don't understand that Wall Street's not telling you what the fundamental value is. They're telling you what the trading market value is. But this stuff, so this will follow the spot market. And so it is a digital market like the rest of the markets here in the US. Like we're seeing this crunch between the physical market and the digital market. In the US, this is primarily a derivatives market, right? But this is a physical only market. So this is a paper contract market. This is a physical only market. And a lot of these coins, based on quality and rarity, will go into many millions of dollars. So yeah, they can confiscate. That's why I said I can't guarantee that they won't. However, they would have to look at each individual coin to determine the pricing on it. And that is not likely to happen because these are all pre-33s. They melted a whole bunch of them down. There's just not that much of it out there. Now, additionally to that is when you're looking at the bullion market and the probability of confiscation, who do you think owns the $1 million coins? Probably the 1%ers. And they're not going to turn it in at $4,000 or $6,000, and they paid millions of dollars. So I think that anybody that can pay $15 million for 1 ounce of gold either writes the laws like Treasury Secretary Wooden did back in 1933, or has the ability to influence those that write the laws. Because I think it should be pretty obvious that, you can buy your influence. So, I hate to say that because it shouldn't really be that way, but that is how it is. So this is much less likely to be confiscated because, number one, there's not that much of it out there. So all the work wouldn't be worth it. And number two, people that own this are more than likely in, not this, because this is a lower echelon coin, but in those upper echelon coins, they can't confiscate with this without doing those. It's just not likely, but it's possible. I can't guarantee you anything, but history has shown us that that's the way they do it. And Goldens and even in, before I move on with them, that's fine. Okay. And I'm sorry, this is such a disjointed, I really owe you guys a new one.
Just so you know, you're fine now. I've turned on a little fan in the back of the camera. You should be completely fine.
Okay. Goldens and Coons said, hi, Lynette, is stagflation the same thing as dragflation? Well, stagflation is a combination of inflation with markets going down, right? So it's a combination of inflation and deflation, and it puts us in a really bad position. So we just had the ISM, the manufacturing numbers, come out, and their prices are going down while inflation is going up. That's a stagflation. It would be dragflation because that drags the whole system down, but I don't know if it's the same. We'll pull up that definition. Also, I wonder if these new Trump tariffs are actually carbon taxes or carbon tariffs in reality, and just a 25% tax on people. Well, look, I don't agree with everything that any government puts in place. And I'm not political. I am economic. These tariffs, 25%, 10%, yeah, the playing field kind of has to get leveled. But what President Trump is trying to do is increase the tariffs, reduce the value of the dollar, and remain as the world reserve currency. And part of the deal when you become the world reserve currency is you are basically the currency of last resort. And your job is to really support the rest of the world. Currencies don't remain in that position. I mean, the US dollar has remained in this position a lot longer than anybody else, any other currency that I know of. And that's because of the experiment of moderating the interest rates to moderate or control the level of inflation. So that's why we think, well, the dollar can never go away, but it has no purchasing power value. It's used in one place. So is it really just a tax on people? Yeah, tariffs are a tax on people. Who do you think actually pays these tariffs? And if it costs the car importer 25% more to import the steel that they need to make the car, can they absorb those costs? No, they're going to have to pass those costs along. So really, tariffs are, I think it's also why Warren Buffett said that this is actually a war. It's part of a trade war, but it's a broader war. It's an act of war. But it's always the public that pays for those acts of war, for these tariffs. I'm not saying that he shouldn't do it. The playing field on tariffs have not been equal around the world, but trying to get them equal in this way really kind of positions a much bigger war, not just a trade war, and the public will pay. Because remember, I told you a while ago that it looks to me and technically like we have already entered that hyperinflationary stage. We've already begun that escalation. We just haven't seen it yet. This is going to justify that. But it won't be the whole reason, but it's going to justify that. And Crypto Dude, hi Crypto Dude, Trump said he won't allow a CBDC. When do you think it will happen anyway? I think it's already happening. And I also think that President Trump at this moment feels confident with the new cryptocurrency that he came out with. So he'd be promoting that. I think he's comfortable with Bitcoin. I mean, I think he sees a way to make money. But here's the thing. It's this. That's what it is. So the prices going up are not really the prices going up. It's really the value of this going down. You need a sound foundation and a way to convert that money into hard assets or other things. And they just have not done that, right? Cryptocurrencies don't do that yet. This is a brand new product that they just came out with in 2009. So I know that he says he won't allow a CBDC. Future will tell whether that's true or not. But it doesn't mean that he's not going to encourage and allow cryptocurrencies, which are still programmable money. I just used this next slide in a piece that I did that you guys should watch, and it's a comparison of the different forms of money and the transition of money. So we have gold and silver as commodity money, savings-based, stores energy, and it's used in every single sector of the global economy. It requires fiscal responsibility. It's in your control. You hold it, you own it, it's private, and it's got a 5,000 or more year of history being money above all central banks, above all governments. They want to keep it in this form so that it's in their control. And I don't really care who it is. I mean, honestly, I don't care who got in there. It is time to transition. There's no purchasing power left. And the reason why markets aren't working the way they were supposed to work or people expected them to work is because we're at the end of that cycle. Period. End of discussion. So if you're not looking at the real problem, how can you come up with the real solution? What's the real solution? Sit and sound money for a minute. Let this whole thing crash. What will happen? Boom! It'll go to its fundamental value. But I'd still tell you, don't be blinded by numbers. I have this $10 trillion Zimbabwe dollar, and I can't buy anything with it, and I'm a trillionaire, right? It doesn't mean anything. So gold going up to $40,000, $100,000, $500,000. What does that really tell you? Does that tell you everything is hunky-dory and you're going to make a whole bunch of this off of that? No, because when that happens, you're going to understand this has zero value. Zero. This retains your ability to purchase the same goods and services and expands your ability to have the wealth transition your way. That's it. You look at this money, gold and silver, 4 functions. It is a tool of measure, right? So we can price things. A tool of barter. So I agree to accept this for that, right? Barter. It is a short-term store of value, so I'm fairly paid for my current labor. And it is a long-term store of value, so that no matter when I use that money, I'm always fairly paid for that labor. Those are the 4 functions. This takes that long-term store of value away. Now we're down to 3 functions. We go digital. Here, this is my Bitcoin. It's an image of a Bitcoin because you can't hold it like this, right? It's gold, so that you're thinking, oh, it's just like gold. No, it's not. This does not store energy, and I have to be an engineer in order to understand it. That's a little challenging. I'm 70 years old. I really don't want to go back to college for 8 years, and I don't know what they teach me there anyway at this point, because they sure as hell, they sure as heck did not teach me about money when I was growing up in grade school. Why? Because if you understand that, then you go, no, that's not okay with me. So, yeah, I think it's going to happen anyway. And I'd say, well, Ray Dalio has just been on talking about on the verge of World War III and saying that he expects 2 to 3 years to see that unfold. Timing is the biggest challenge. But I'd say that's probably about right? I think I can agree with Ray on that. That's probably the time frame. It doesn't mean that you wait till the day before and you get everything done, right? Get prepared. I'd rather be, I don't care if I'm 20 years too early. I mean, honest to God, I wish that I had started accumulating this when it was legalized again, because I could buy a really nice leather purse with $20 and this, or $35, which is what that was at that time. Boy, what's that purse worth now? I don't even have it. But the gold is worth a whole lot more than that. And yes, I do think it's going to happen anyway. And Mikey for president. Hi, Lynette. What is a well-balanced portfolio in your opinion? Well, okay, there are a few different things, and you need to understand this is where I have lived my life, my entire life. And I'm also quite clear on what the real trend is. It's not stocks and bonds and cryptos going up in terms of these. Okay, that's not really what it's about. So I try and look for undervalued circumstance that is in a long-term positive trend and avoid overvalued circumstance that is in a long-term negative trend. So the real trend is what's happening with the purchasing power of the dollar. So I would have a different statement on the way other side of this mess. I want you to understand that, right? Because a well-diversified portfolio, and you got to make sure that whatever it is that you're positioning into is really solid. And right now there's too much hidden that I can't see. And that makes me very uncomfortable. All of this off balance sheet crap, I can't see it. So under normal circumstance, if we were in the system properly and actually had a market that revealed true values, true supply and demand values, then I would say, yes, you want some stocks and maybe some bonds to balance that out, but you got, and maybe some cryptos to balance that out, but you got to have a foundation of sound money, right? So if you're going to have a whole bunch of intangibles, you got to have tangible assets too. And you want those that have the broadest base of demand. Because you see, I collect glass, and that's great, right? But this is more universal. I'm not taking that with me if I'm traveling, but I do take this with me when I travel, right? Because if something happens and for some reason my credit card doesn't work or anything like that and I need cash, I have no problem converting this into whatever that local currency is. This is universal money and it can be in any form. It doesn't matter. So generally it would contain some of all of the above, but it would also be based on real market supply and demand because I am not a trader, right? I mean, I'm just not, I can do it. I'm a technician, so I can do it, but that requires too much attention. On the other side of that, a well-diversified metals portfolio is going to support a whole bunch of goals, and that's different metals for different things, because I've done those studies on how these coins behave for different scenarios. So this is my savings, right? This is what ensures that I can buy food or seeds or gas. This, at the different quality levels, is what I would convert into paying off my mortgage or buying stocks when all of the garbage is burned out of the stock market. Right now, it's ridiculously overvalued. Really? Could it keep going up? Sure. There's melt up. But that's more a reflection of the loss of this and all of this that's been pushed into the system. So there will come a time when I'm sure I will own stocks again. And there may even come a time where I don't even have a lot of problem with debt to generate income. But at this moment in time, with all of the garbage that's in the system, here's my diversification. Food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. Because these are the things that we need to survive this mess and put us all in a position where we can thrive through it and maybe even have some wealth transfer our way. What a concept. So stay tuned and stay with me, because my intention is to be here through this whole trend cycle so that you can see what I'm doing for me. And also, the goal is to educate you so you can make those educated choices that actually put your best interest first. And they don't have to match mine, right? You have to do what you feel comfortable with, period, end of discussion, no matter what anybody else says. I'm just trying to get you to not allow you to be fooled, right? Because that's how they do it. They trick you into it. You go along with it. And I got news for you. I could see a point where I would buy cryptocurrencies, but I want them to go through that test first. I want to see how they're going to survive. Right now, we don't know that. It's a speculative bubble. That's what it is. And that's what President Trump is trying to create more of. Lots and lots of speculation. Drill, baby, drill, right? I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now. You better get to safety. And hey, I even saw, and I'll be talking a little bit more about this when I dig into it further, but I believe it was Deutsche Bank that came out and said that they're questioning the US dollar as the world reserve currency. It's coming more and more into mainstream. This ain't going to save you. The treasuries that they issue to do this, that's not going to save you. That's not going to save you. This will save you. This will save you. Get to safety.
There's a comment I want to address real quickly.
Okay.
And I'm glad we're doing this on stream.
Yep.
This one's really important, guys. Okay, so someone in the comments, JKS3RD, said he got a friend request from Lynette asking for a minimum contribution investment. We will never, ever do that, guys.
Never.
We will never, ever do that.
Never.
Right. We're not going to friend request you guys. That is a spam. That is a scam. Speaking of trickery, on that note, do not fall for it.
Thank you.
And of course, we are being as diligent as we can, but I mean, the robots are just attacking us sometimes,
Right.
So just be diligent, and try to stay level-headed with this stuff. We're not going to message you asking you for investments. That's just
Never. And nor are we going to text you and make any level of recommendations on what you should do. We're doing that here. We're doing that at Zang Enterprises, where you're talking one-on-one with a human being and having that conversation. So just know, if you see that, it's not us. It's not me. I will never, ever, 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 ever do that. Can they complain? I mean, does that do anything?
They can kind of report the comment. They
Which
can
is
report it, which is the easiest way to do it, right? Because it
something.
shows everyone. I go through and report it as well. But if you have a question, I know this is going to sound a little silly, but just call us. We'll talk to you. No, seriously, just call us.
Seriously, no, I'm
we'll
serious.
talk to you about it. It's
Right.
free. Just call us. We'll talk to you about it. We'll answer the questions that you have, especially regarding our social media stuff. Just give us a call, okay?
Right.
Just give us a call.
And understand too, I meet with the strategy specialists every single week, and sometimes multiple times in a week, because every week I meet with do a one-on-one. So we have our meetings where we're all together, but then I also do a one-on-one. They all have my phone number. They all know where I live. They all know how to get a hold of me, and it happens all the time. So, if you have a question and they can't answer it, or you want me to answer it through them or what have you, yeah, thank you, Adam. Call 833-GLD-ZANG, 833-453-9264. Thank you for that, because yeah, it's a big problem. But I will never ask you for any donations or any selling anything. It will not happen, period. Especially since we got to talk about your goals, and we like human contact. A bad pup. Well, Juliet was a little bad pup the other day, but anyway. Hi, Lynette. In your educated opinion, what items will be most affected by the tariffs on both sides of the border, and how much closer are we to a dollar debt collapse? Okay, so I think actually probably everything is going to be impacted, especially food. Autos, you can live without getting a new car, but you got to eat. And so I'm really nervous about what's happening with the food. And, you stop and take a look at what happened during COVID, right? Where the grocery store shelves are bare. You need to create your own food security. You can do it with a combination like, up at the bug out, I have long storage food. I can feed 40 people for 6 months with the rice and the beans and lentils and all of this long storage food that I have. And, you can get a 5-gallon bucket and you can get an awful lot of food in there. I think food is like a huge one. If you have even a teeny weeny space, you can set up an aquaponic system and grow some fresh food. If you have a balcony, or if you have a corner in an apartment, or of course there's also traditional gardening. So, but if you can't do any of those, go to a community garden, sign up for a plot, or at the minimum, volunteer, right? Get to know who's growing your food. I think everything's going to be impacted, but we can live without a lot of things. You can't live without food. Can't live without food. And how much closer are we to that dollar debt collapse? I'll go back to Ray Dalio. I'd say within 3 years. I mean, I actually think, because think about this, right? Our two biggest buyers of our debt, which is how we fund everything, China and Japan, and there's been a run on the dollar since 2013 where they have not been buying as much of our debt. Now we're shifting allegiances, but we are ticking off an awful lot of our allies that were buying that debt. Well, what if they stop buying our debt? So honestly, I think we are very, very close to a debt dollar collapse. And even though, timing is always challenging. So let's just see what happens with this tariff war, with these trade wars. Because if we're counting on those countries that we are ticking off to buy our debt, then it could happen. And we've got the debt ceiling, March 14th. Put that on your calendar. Because what if they don't pass the debt ceiling? I mean, it honestly could be as early as March 14th. Right? I mean, we're just in a very precarious position. Just get into position. That's why, I'll be honest with you, I am not a good procrastinator. It drives me out of my mind. I like to get a job done and then move on to the next thing. So, but I know a lot of people, they take their time and then they take their time and then stop taking your time. If you've been postponing and putting it off, you know what our minimum is? Where did I put it? Here it is. $1 silver. We basically have no minimum. Why? Because we want everybody to hold gold and silver. And additionally, you know this, I say it all the time, Gold and silver in any form is monetary at its base. So no matter what your personal financial circumstances are, there's always a way to accumulate. Obviously, we want you to do business with us because we have a plan, and it's a plan that's based upon repeatable history. So it's not really rocket science. It's kind of easy to know what is the next most likely outcome. Can I guarantee that outcome? Of course not. That's way above my pay grade. However, there's not one doubt in my mind, and plus, if you were here last week, you know I have been groomed for this moment in time. This is bad, people. Get it done. I am not kidding. And I'm feeling tremendous urgency with what I see and all the chaos that I see going on. So yeah, we are really close to a dollar collapse. And Deutsche Bank coming out and saying, man, the dollar's not a flight to safety anymore. Honestly, it never really was, but it pretended to be for a while. And low blood pressure says, do you think Trump is trying to isolate the United States with tariffs? I do think that he is trying to isolate the United States with tariffs and other things. And I think that what we're seeing is a shift in allegiances as well. So yep. And Brian Keith asks, are they putting tariffs on precious metals? Not yet. And that's part of the reason why you saw this big rush for that probability. But in a trade war, quite honestly, anything can happen. Anything can happen. And Theodora says, hi, Lynette, always wanted to ask. Good, I'm glad you're asking. That's why I'm here. The mantra, food, water, energy. What's the energy aspect? Electricity? Well, look, you've got to keep the lights on. You've got to keep especially refrigerators and freezers that are maintaining your food. So it isn't necessarily electricity, but what is the option? So like up north, which actually, I bought this property in 2010, and the very first thing that I did, and it never worked, but the very first thing that I did was try and get off of the grid, and I even got a special waiver from, I think, APS. I think this house is on APS. I don't know for sure, but anyway, the one of the local energy companies, and so I put solar on this house. And battery backups because I was trying to go off grid. It didn't work. It didn't work. It never worked. It didn't even work one day. But that was a while ago. Now up north, I have a solar system that works phenomenally with huge batteries. Have we shown them that? I don't know that we have because these guys haven't even been to the bug out yet, but I'm going to take them up there. So there are all different ways you can use, like up north, I have solar, I have a little bit of wind. We're going to be working on that a little bit more. And I have natural gas with a generator. So I have backup if the solar isn't working. And we are also planning on doing some hydroelectric with water. So there are a number of different ways that you can generate energy. And it's really primarily to make sure that you can hold your food, because you can light a candle, and I mean, this was supposed to represent energy. I mean, it doesn't do it very well. I'm working on it, but, I'm not going to blind you, but, you've got to have energy to be able to see when it's dark. But for me, the most important piece is to hold your food. But you need it for a lot. And in Arizona, when it's 122 degrees, you need some air conditioning. But frankly, the bug out is at a high location and about 20 to 30 degrees cooler than here. We'll be up there.
It's funny that you say the Arizona thing and the temperature, because it's not even that hot of a day today, right?
No.
And our cameras are overheating. I'm hot in this room. This is what we're talking about in terms of being secure in energy, right? Days like today, days like tomorrow.
Well,
Right?
if you look at a number of countries that are happening with all their blackouts and their brownouts, those things are I mean, that's happening in the U.S. in different states because our grid is so old, right? So you need to be so energy independent. I mean, I don't really have like I haven't really had an experience where up at the bug out that I've lost energy since I upgraded the system. When I first bought it, the system was old. It was from 2009, and it was just about a weekend, right? So I've actually spent quite a bit of these to put in a system that, you know, I go up there, I have connectivity because I have Starlink, you know, I have TV so I can watch my Bloomberg and do my work. I mean, you want to be able to live like you're living right now.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's always about like maintaining a certain standard of living,
Yeah.
right? And we're thinking of an apocalypse, but really it doesn't have to be that. My circuit breaker went out in my condo, and I was down for power for 2 days.
Oh.
And I told you this, I bought backups, I bought solar systems, because I was terrified that it was going to be longer than 2 days, and I needed something to power. And this was just a maintenance thing. This wasn't
Right.
even any apocalypse happening. This was just
a
a
maintenance.
Tuesday, you know?
Yeah.
A normal Tuesday.
Yeah. So yeah, it's energy. It's just thank you, Adam. Glad you brought that up. It is to sustain our standard of living. And just so you know it, I like it when he says, "Oh, another question," or brings out something because you get a more full answer. And Kyoko 111, what will 3 times more energy cost us? Probably more than we can afford. I mean, think about what I think okay, look, I do have an urban farm, so I know that my water bill is ridiculous and because it's city water here. Now, at my bug out, I've got a well, I've got energy backup up there, and I don't have any utility bills up there because I'm completely off grid other than that, the natural gas as a backup. But yeah, a lot. Plus you're looking at those prices going up and the value of this going down. I mean, they're now talking about 3/4 point. It's such a joke, really. 3/4 point rate cuts into these Trump tariffs so that more people can borrow and spend more money when credit cards are already maxed out for most people. It's ridiculous. So, your adventure friends, I have a question regarding gold ownership laws. Okay, in the U.S., pre-33 gold coins are considered exempt from confiscation. They were. Are you aware of any similar laws or exemptions that apply in Canada? Well, not really, but Canada is such an interesting country because they don't have any gold. The central bank, the government, they don't have any gold. I think that confiscation is even more likely there than other places where they might have a bigger store of gold. Now, I think in the U.S., we're going to have to prove it. We're going to have to prove it. And we're going to have to prove ownership. It's not just that those bars are sitting in Fort Knox. They're going to have to prove who actually owns them because of all of the derivatives that they created over the years to manipulate the visible price. So be clear on that. I don't know of any similar laws that apply in Canada. I'll see what I can find out. I know that there was a confiscation that was scheduled to happen in Australia. From my research, it appeared to me like it actually had happened. That would have been in the 50s. But a lot of Australians said, oh, no, that never happened. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe it just didn't affect a lot of people too, right?
Yeah.
People didn't have a lot of gold, so there was a lot
Not
to
everyone.
That could have been. But if you were born in the 50s, that means that, or you wouldn't have known that at that age anyway. I was born in 54, right? So whatever happened during that period of time, I was too young. That'd be like your new son, understanding about the tariffs. That's not going to happen, right? So we'll have to see. However, desperate governments do desperate things, and I especially think that when a government and a central bank does not have any gold, confiscation becomes much more likely. Much more likely.
Actually makes a lot of sense. And your adventure friends actually saw us in VRIC.
Oh, hi.
So, hey, hello again. Thanks for coming back and watching
Absolutely.
the live
Appreciate
and being here.
it.
Really appreciate you.
Yep. Love Vancouver.
Oh, that was so cool.
It really was. That was your first time there.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I loved that. I loved it.
Yep. Aren't you going back?
Jenny's
you
going
loved
back.
it so much?
Jenny's going back.
back.
I guess I talked enough about it that she, yeah, she's going.
Yep. And my son-in-law is Canadian too. He's from Edmonton though. And his mom still lives there, but I think she's coming down here. I don't know. Kathy Piscatello said, hi, Lynette. Andy Scheckman talks about a gold reset. And would that be based on the spot or the government price of $45? No. What that's going to be based on, this is historical, and it wouldn't make any sense to do a revaluation from where are we at, $2,900 to $42.22, right? They revalue it up, and that's why understanding the fundamental value of any asset, I don't care what it is that you're looking at, you need to know what the true value, not the trade value, because that's all you get from Wall Street these days is the trade value of an asset. You need to know the true fundamental value of an asset, because while I cannot give you a lot of guarantees, I can give you this one. At some point, every asset and every instrument goes to its fundamental value. So once you know what that number is, it works like this. I mean, we've seen on the purchasing power charts, what's the fundamental value of any fiat government-based currency? It's zero. They're telling you that, right? I don't even have to tell you. They're telling you. It's zero. What's the fundamental value of an ounce of gold? Well, how is this? This is fiat money. This is sound money. They're both money. They're just the opposite sides, right? So how is this created? It's created by debt. How much debt has been created in this world? You can use that as a proxy for how much gold has been created. So that's why I can say, I can sit here and I can tell you without one teeny weeny itty bitty doubt in my mind that this is worth, if they were to do a 1-to-1 ratio overnight revaluation today, you would more than likely see spot go above $40,000 an ounce. Having said that, what I can't tell you, because it's too hidden, is how many bets or derivatives there are against that gold. That could make it go many multiples above that, right? But that's in terms of this that has no value. So when we see that, we see gold at 42,000. Let me tell you, you're going to really understand that this has absolutely zero purchasing power value. And the only reason why you're going to want to get your hands on this is to pay off that mortgage when they do that revaluation, is to buy an income producing asset that then is undervalued, because we can do it for every single asset. We can determine what the true fundamental value is, and therefore you now know, is it undervalued, fairly valued, or overvalued? Therefore, do I want to buy it? Do I want to hold it? Do I want to liquidate it? It really is that simple. If it's super duper complicated, and that goes back to what Adam said, call us. If you have questions, we'll give you all the tools that you need to make educated choices that puts your best interest first. You are the one that has to do that. I mean, we're here to be of service, period, and we are always going to put your best interest first. But the bottom line is you're the one that's going to feel that impact to the good or to the bad, right? So it has to ultimately always be your decision and your choice. We just believe in educated choices, even if they're different than ours, right? I will fight for your right to make those choices, and I'm going to give you the tools to do it. And
real quickly, Grace is asking what you're wearing as a pendant.
Oh, this is actually platinum. It's 20s. It's deco, and it has a aquamarine and a little bit of sapphires, and yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love this piece. I'm definitely a deco gal, and my house was built in 1929. So, and did I finish answering all of that?
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Okay. And Pete Repeat asks, not a real confiscation. They exchanged the gold for notes of the same value. Then they put the gold price up. That's how they do it. That's how they did it in 33, right? Because remember, they printed, okay, this used to back $1, right? And this was the same in terms of purchasing power as this, which was the same in terms of purchasing power as this. All of these in the beginning were $1, right? But they also allowed, I don't know where I have another dollar, but I'll just use the 10, right? They allowed this to be in circulation at the same time, so that when they did the gold confiscation, these two things went away, but people had 20 years of used to using this. See, remember, cryptocurrencies came out in 2009. So how many years have they now been around to get people used to it? And what did they do? You ever heard of the Roaring 20s? All of that flood of new money into the system for the first time went, certainly not all of it, because the lion's share always goes to the top echelon and whoever's closest to the central bank. But it went for the first time, that credit went to the public. And then the industrialists sold stocks. We see that same thing happening now where the insiders are getting out. And then when enough risk has been transferred from those few to the many, to the public, then it becomes too expensive to bail out. And the whole thing implodes. Yep. And Travis Wright asks, are 1 ounce bars or coins better for barterability? Well, what you want is you want a variety of sizes. I don't do bars. Bars are absolutely monetary gold. Bullion, if you can hold, here's the way to know. If you can hold them inside of an IRA, I'm not buying them because that is classified as monetary gold. So it can be a bar or it can also be an American Eagle. It doesn't matter if you can hold it in your IRA. Having said that, what's better? A variety of sizes is better, right? Same thing. See, I have a whole bunch of different sizes. Same thing with silver, right? Here, dimes. This is a $50, right? You want a variety of sizes. And if you ask me on a barterable portfolio, what is my personal favorite? It would be dimes, because it's easier to put 2 dimes together than to break a quarter in half. Having said that, do you think I would care about clipping pieces of my sterling silver chopstick to make a purchase? I wouldn't care about that at all. Wouldn't care at all. So you want a variety of sizes, but it also has to be small enough that you can put it in your pocket and it's not visible. So if you're going with larger bars, like I know a lot of people have some really large silver bars, well, that's going to be hard to barter with. I don't have any of those. The largest size of anything that I have really, I think I have a 2 ounce silver coin, but that's pretty much, I think at this point, about it. Although we have some things in the works, so stay tuned. I don't want to talk about it yet because I keep asking for it and kind of goes into dead air. But that's okay. I'll keep asking. So yeah, I like a variety of sizes.
Well, don't fire me, please. But let me ask you this, or someone asked.
I wasn't talking about it going
well,
into
hey, you never know. Adrian Finley. Okay, she asked a very interesting question about confiscation.
Okay.
Basically, it was, why wouldn't the Canadian government or our government, for example, just nationalize the mines instead of confiscating the above ground gold?
That's a fabulous
such a good question.
And they certainly could do that.
Right.
And we're seeing a lot of that, or at least part of it, like through royalties and fees and all of this. There's so many different names for confiscation. It all ends up the same. And so when you're looking in Africa, there are a number of countries, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, etc., that they require their gold miners to sell a portion, I think like 20% of whatever they pull out of the ground in the local currency. That's going to nothing. That is a way to do that. But the other reason why that wouldn't really work is because we've already hit peak gold. There's just not that much left in the ground. I think I did something on that recently where you pulled up the block so you can see. And by the way, when I do my calculations on how much is gold worth in terms of this, I use the in-ground gold as well. But frankly, the Department of the Interior runs on an annual basis the amount of gold and silver everywhere in the world that is yet in the ground. There's more that's been pulled out, but remember too, during these periods of time, globally on average, 80% of the population ends up in abject poverty. Oh, I didn't say 100, did I? Because there are those that know what's coming that get into proper position. And even thinking about Zimbabwe, remember the 1 ounce coin that they came up with a couple of years ago? You don't hear anything about that anymore, do you? So it was a way to make sure that the elites, because they were the only ones that could afford a 1 ounce gold coin, could protect their purchasing power as they were going through yet another iteration and revaluation. And Trav 3000 asks, what do you think about using debt now to purchase hard assets? I'm not a super keen on debt because the issue that we have is a debt issue. And historically, what really happens is while they are repaying the debt with dollars that have no value, governments and central banks, generally the public doesn't get away with that. So it kind of depends on the debt, right? If it's a fixed rate debt, like a mortgage, and you know, we're lucky here in the US where we have a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Then you repay those debts, that mortgage, with dollars that, in this country anyway, that have zero value. Okay, so not all debt is horrendous. It's the timing thing. You know, it's just the timing thing. So if you are going to take on debt, you need to work through the strategy because you would have to have the ability to pay that debt off like that. And if it's variable rate debt, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, and get rid of those credit cards.
Do you consider like jewels and jewelry assets?
Yes, I do consider them assets, actually. And they are. And why? Because, you know, there are three legs to the dynastic wealth stool, right? And this is wealth that has lasted in families at least 300 years. That's the minimum, at least 300 years. And it's very simple. It's made up of real estate, rare collectibles, really rare collectibles, and gold. You can do all of them with gold because you can own a gold mine. You can own a truly rare coin or a truly rare gold box, things like that. And you could also own just this basic gold. Follows the spot market, at least at this point. That's not always going to be true, but it does follow the spot market. So, yes, I definitely do consider, because what's this made of? Yeah. right? We just talked about it. It's platinum, which isn't a monetary metal, but is a rare metal, right? It used to be, platinum used to trade higher than gold. Now it doesn't because it's also mostly an industrial metal, but it's still a rare metal. So it's platinum, it's aquamarines, it's it's a whole bunch of things. So yeah, that's definitely assets. I consider that piece of glass that I'm pointing to, which I inherited from my parents, right? I consider that an asset because that's from the early 1900s, and it's acid cut back, and it's a rare piece. So yeah, those, yes, they are. And KG Free asks, it is always said that the purchasing power of gold is steady. An ounce will buy a nice men's suit. Are you saying that a nice men's suit will soon cost $44,000? I can't pull this up really. Can I? We can try.
Things
We've
are breaking.
had some challenges.
Things are breaking anyways. Let's just give it a go. See what happens.
Let's see if I can pull this up. Give me a sec. Okay, let's see. Of course, I have to remember what I named it.
Are you looking for the shopping cart one?
No, I'm looking for the suit one.
Oh,
You know what? I'll have that for you the next time. But yes, I'm saying that it would not surprise me at all. Look at what cars are going to do, right? They're anticipating a $12,000 bump in most vehicles, right? I mean, and think about it. My father in 1970, in the early 70s, or actually in the 60s, I remember this, and he got his first new car, and it was, I don't remember what kind it was exactly, but I remember it was turquoise and white, and it was a convertible, and I loved that car, and he paid $2,500 for it. I remember it. I remember that, right? Can you get a brand new car off the showroom floor for $2,500 today? So if I had said to him, Daddy, someday you're going to have to pay $50,000. I think that's the average price of a new car. That's not even like a high-end car. That's just the average price of an average car. So, he didn't have a lot of money then, so it was probably an average car, right? Then, and in 1913, it was $800 for a car, for a Ford. Right? So if you went back and said, one of these days, that car, you're going to have to pay $50,000 for a car, they would have looked at you like you had three heads. So yes, I'm telling you, yes, that will not surprise me, not even one little itty bitty bit.
And KJ Free said, thank you for the response, but the gold is getting to interact with Lynette Zang live. That's the real gold.
Thank you so much. And I hope you come when we were talking about it yesterday at the strategic planning session, which we have another one coming up. We were talking about when we get to do these in person. That's what I'm really looking forward to. That's what I really love to do. But we'll still be doing it this way as well. It'll just probably take many hours to get through the questions, and that's okay too. It's okay too. I just plan my schedule around it. And this is the last question. It's KJ Free. What's up with pre-33 prices? MS63 Liberty going for spot? I thought collectibles would go much higher than spot. I don't know what you're looking at, darling. It could be that it's not graded. Like, we only use NGC or PCGS grading because those are the two that are globally accepted. If they say this is a mid-state 63, blah, 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 then guess what? It is globally accepted that that's the quality level. So KJ Free, can you send me what you're referring to, and I'll take a look at it, and we'll talk about it next week so that I'm giving you an appropriate answer, because not everybody understands this. And you know that from listening to a lot of people talk, oh, don't do that. Let me tell you, I like the fact, oh, did he just send that?
No. We were kind of looking up to see if we can find it.
Let me see.
Is it on eBay?
Oh, do you know it's real?
That's interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would really question whether or not this was real or if they're using it as a bait and switch. There's no freaking way on God's green earth.
No way.
No way.
Absolutely.
I think it's a lie.
Okay, good.
I'm even saying that on air. I'll believe it's a lie.
And this is the beauty is we probably sound like broken records at this point, but if you do have questions about that kind of stuff, just give us a call.
Yeah.
Just give us a call. We'll
Yeah.
talk to you about it. We'll go through our options.
Because we are experts in this.
And it's free.
This is our field.
It's free. We just want to
Yep.
talk to you.
Yep. That's it. So this has been great. Thank you so much for your patience in getting through all the problems that we had today, and dealing with me with my cold and all of that. And I should let you know, next week, same time, and we'll be here. However, when we're looking at the following week, I am actually taking a real vacation. I'm going to Pancha Karma for those that are curious about that. And I am going to rest. Rest. And then I'll come back and I will be re-energized and I'll be ready to rock and roll. So just know, I so appreciate every single one of you being part of this community. Help us grow this. The more conversation we have and the algorithm picks it up and sends it out to more people. Juliet, would you come here, please? Will you come here and say goodbye? Come here. Come here. No, she's going to Arthur. Nice. Okay, come here. What's the matter? Oh, now she's got to stretch. Okay. Well, we'll stretch. But I know. Oh, here she comes. All right, come here, baby. Give me a little sugar. I love this dog. She's such a good dog. So thank you guys so much for being here, being part of this community, and really helping us grow and making a positive difference in the world. Because if we don't do it, who's going to do it? We got to do it. And we're stronger together. And so until next we meet, please be safe out there. Bye-bye.